Welcome back, friends, to Nancy's Pantry, where we talk everything health, nutrition, and fitness. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about one of Canada's top carbs. It's a part of our Canadian diet, and that is bread. There's a lot of different breads here on this table. We've got some that are just kind of your regular brands of bread that we see on a daily basis, the ones that most people will reach for. And then I've got some other better alternatives that I do want to show you guys that are also available in store, but they're just better than like your Wonder Bread and your Harvest, your Country Harvest, your Dempsters. These are better alternatives, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. We're going to talk a little bit about the different ingredients that are in here and why I personally think you should really take a look at the ingredients in the bread that you pick up on a regular basis. And if bread is something that is a regular item in your day-to-day food consumption, think about switching it, swapping it for something better. So I'm not sure about everybody's parents, but my parents are immigrants, and I see this a lot. Even with non-immigrant parents, I see it all the time. I hear it all the time. We all grew up on the Wonder Bread. We all grew up on the Dempsters. We grew up on those things as kids. But at that very time when we were kids, and this tended to be, a lunchtime staple, peanut butter and jam sandwiches, cheese and ham sandwiches, all of those things, that time our bread was slowly changing, and unfortunately we weren't paying close attention. And for me, with my immigrant parents, bread is just a staple in a regular Portuguese home. Bread is definitely a staple in our diet. But what I hate to see is the generation before the millennials. I'm talking about the baby boomers, where they will refuse to change anything about their diet because they think the same white Dempster's bread that they were eating before all of us millennials were born is the same as it is today. And that is just not true. Our food has evolved so much over the years that we really have to pay attention, because there are things that are in our food ingredients that are just not that great for our overall health. And especially with something like bread, where we tend to eat it on a daily basis, it tends to be a lot of people's basic breakfast, lunch, school, afternoon snacks and stuff like that. This tends to be a staple in our pantries. So let's get into it, because there's a lot to cover here. Okay, so when we go to the grocery store, we see a lot of the Wonder Bread, we see the Country Harvest, we see the Dempsters, we have the Raisin Bread, the English muffins, the bagels. We have this new brand that I've seen in recent years, the Italiano. And a lot of them have different marketing schemes, and I want to talk about that first. For example, we have this no sugar added one, and we also have what is new. I noticed what has been new with Wonder Bread is it says non-GMO. So one of the things we need to realize is that just because something says it is non-GMO doesn't mean that you're doing something good for yourself. And what I'm trying to say is, for example, with oats and majority of the grains that exist in the world are not Monsanto beans anyways. They're not GMO crops. So GMO crops are like our berries. We have a lot of our fruits. We have a lot of vegetables. For example, corn is a GMO crop. So when you see something like this that says non-GMO, it's just a stamp. It's really got no backbone to it, because again, our grains, for the most part, are they're not a GMO crop. So this doesn't really matter. What I would love to see from Wonder Bread is bread that isn't made with all this extra ingredients that are just bad for our health, can cause a lot of issues. And I want to see them, lower the sugar content of their bread. I want to see them give us organic options, because organic is where you need to be. The GMO crop is not what you need to worry about. You need to worry about your grains being organic, because all of the grains used in all non-organic breads basically are highly sprayed with glyphosate, which is your Roundup. That's the kind of stuff, that's the chemical we spray on our lawns to get rid of weeds. So that's the kind of spray that they're using on all the grains that are used in all of these non-organic breads. So non-GMO, it's not a worry. It's the organic versus non-organic that we should be worrying about. But again, as Canadians, we're not all on the same boat. We don't all have the same budget. So I completely understand that families are just gonna have to go with what they can afford. There are better options though. And the best way to look at your better option is to look at the ingredients. These breads right here, this Raisin Bread, this Country Harvest, no sugar added, this Wonder Bread, and this whole wheat, 100% whole wheat apparently, bread, all have ingredients that are not great for your health. And we're gonna talk about them. The first one is called calcium propionate. It's a really hard one to say. And the next few ones are even harder. So all of these breads here all have calcium propionate. In fact, even this one here, I believe, I'm pretty sure I read that on the ingredients. Yes. So even something like this, where it's from a company called Dimplimeyer, I can't even say it. It's like I believe it's a German brand. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I remember eating this bread sometimes, and it is a prebiotic multigrain bread. So I'll tell you why this one is good, why I think this is a great option in comparison to all of these. But this also has calcium propionate in the ingredients. What is calcium propionate? Calcium propionate is actually a naturally occurring salt when two chemicals come together. And I can't remember the names of both chemicals when they come together. I know that one is calcium hydroxide, I believe. When that mixes with another chemical, we get this naturally occurring salt. So it's just a reaction from two chemicals mixing together. And why do they use this chemical in these breads? It basically enables, so it's an additive, okay? Just remember that. It's an additive, it's a preservative that you're gonna find in majority of baked goods that are already made in stores, and it extends the shelf life of the bread. So it's gonna make it last longer, where maybe naturally it wouldn't last as long on the shelf. So where you may need to put it in the fridge in order to, you know, help that the mold doesn't grow so quickly. Most people leave their bread on a counter. You may want to move it into the fridge just so that mold doesn't start to build up. But this is not great. And I'm going to tell you another thing about these ingredients. There's something called GRAS approved, and that is generally recognized as safe. That is what GRAS stands for. And what I discovered in researching the ingredients we're going to talk about today is that they've all been GRAS approved. So they've been generally recognized. They're not fully recognized. They're not just recognized as safe. They're generally recognized as safe. And all of the studies that I read on the ingredients we're going to talk about today all said that they were GRAS approved. But there are things about the studies that kind of worry me. And one of the things that worry me is that majority of the studies were done on animals, but a very small quantity of animals. So most of them, of course, were rats. And unfortunately, most of the studies didn't have more than 5 rats in the study. So it's a little bit concerning because they're not doing it on a bigger population. Plus, I don't believe that any of these chemicals have been tested on humans, but there is research that is continuously being done. So there is some research on some of these ingredients that show that people who consume these products containing these chemicals, containing these additives, preservatives, these emulsifiers, it's actually shown in studies, I don't want to say proven, but it's shown in studies that people who eat this on a daily basis have shown to have side effects based on these ingredients. And calcium propionate is one of those ingredients that can cause headaches, migraines. It can raise your insulin levels, your glucagon levels. It can cause irritability, restlessness, poor attention, and sleep issues, especially in children. There was a study that was done on this one ingredient that showed that children who consume this type of bread on a regular basis, on a daily basis, actually, it actually said daily basis, it showed that children had kind of these side effects with having this on a regular, like as part of their regular diet. So these are the types of things that are coming up after all these years, since we were kids till now. You know, I'm 33. So if I was my daughter's age at 3.5 eating this bread until now, we have to wonder why all of these studies now are starting to show these different things that are coming up, these different health issues. Another ingredient, which is really hard for me to say, so I'm gonna pay attention to my note. Give me 1 second, because it's really, actually, I'll probably just read it from the bag, is, this one doesn't even have it. So that's a good thing, I guess. It's this one here. This one has, okay, here we go. It's a long one, guys. Diacetyl tartaric acid esters of mono and diglycerides. Does anybody know what the hell that is? Because first of all, why is the name so long? Secondly, what the hell is this? And let me tell you, it is not a great thing. This is an emulsifier and its short form is datum. So if you can't end up saying the full name, just remember that datum is the short form. It is an emulsifier. And what this does is it actually changes the structure of the dough. So they use it in order to make the dough become larger. So to increase the volume of the dough when it is proofing, if you know what I'm talking about, when we make bread at home, we make the dough, we knead it a little, and then we put it back in a bowl, we cover it, and we kind of keep it in like a warm place so that the dough expands. The yeast does its thing and it expands the dough, and the dough will double in size. And you'll see this with a lot of things, bread, pizza dough, anything that needs dough and the dough will rise, that's called proofing. And so what they do is they add datum to these breads in order to make the dough rise in volume in a much bigger volume than normal. And then it also gives you that crumb-like texture when you're eating the bread. So it basically changes the natural texture and the natural volume that a regular dough of bread or bread dough would have. So keep that in mind. Apparently, there have been studies that have shown that eating bread with datum has actually increased people's chances of heart fibrosis, adrenal overgrowth, and of course, leaky gut. And this is where, when I get into this side here of the better options, I'm going to explain to you why leaky gut is important and what these breads have that are going to help you with your leaky gut. So remember that. Heart fibrosis, adrenal overgrowth, and this was a study that was done with those like 5 rats. I mean, what a small study, but anyways, and leaky gut. The next ingredient, I believe, was also in majority of these breads, which I'm sure it's in this one too. Yes, it is sodium sterol 2-lactylate. I could be saying that wrong, but it's lactylate. It's another long name, and it's another additive, and what it does is it improves the mix tolerance and the volume. This ingredient you can find not only in bread and baked goods, you'll also find it in things like salad dressings, you'll find it in things like soups, prepared meals, frozen items. If you see that ingredient, just know that it's there to make the product look more voluminous. It adds volume, but especially in baked goods, it makes it a little bit easier to mix the ingredients. So again, we're altering the way that natural bread should be made, the way that natural bread rises its texture. We're altering all those things. So keep that in mind. This is not just an ingredient that's added to make it better. This is an ingredient that's altering the way that a natural loaf of bread would be. Now, the next 2 ingredients that I'm going to be talking about are ones you'll see in bread. One of them is actually not necessarily a bad thing. The other one is something that can be a little bit worrisome. But again, if you're not someone that eats bread every single day, it's not a regular thing in your day-to-day nutrition, then, you know, any one of these breads is fine. But if bread is a big part of your overall nutrition, really think about switching it out for a better quality item. So sorbic acid. Sorbic acid is not that bad. It is a naturally occurring acid. And what it does is it's basically an antibiotic. It combats mold. And you'll see that in almost all the breads, if not most of them. So if you see sorbic acid, it's not necessarily something that you need to worry about, because in our history, sorbic acid has helped for people, like it's actually helped people combat botulism, and it's helped to combat the mold that can sometimes grow, obviously over time, grow in bread. So honestly, my tip is don't leave your bread on the counter. Put it in the fridge if you can. You can leave it on the counter for like a week, but if you're not someone that eats it on a regular basis, say like in 4 days, if the loaf of bread is not gone, then maybe move it to the fridge, because that can also help combat the mold because it's cold, right? And defatted soy flour. So defatted soy flour is exactly what it sounds like. They just remove the fat from the soy product and they make it into flour. So it's just kind of like the protein part of soy. There isn't any of the fat. So they remove the fats, and it's now become an organic solvent extract. So it's there to increase the water absorption of the dough. So this is also altering, you know, the regular dough that we would have in bread. It's making it capable of absorbing more water, making it more moist, stuff like that. But this can also lead to, you know, a quicker opportunity to grow mold in the bread, because of course there's more moisture. If you leave your bread on the counter, it's not good stuff, right? Now, the thing about defatted flour, soybean flour or soy flour, sorry, defatted soy flour, is that it's been known as a carcinogenic. So it is a chemical that can actually cause cancer. And it's also been shown or proven through studies that it can cause inflammation. So chronic inflammation, which is even worse, right? Because chronic inflammation is just, there's constant inflammation in the body. And there are so many foods that we eat on a regular basis that can also cause inflammation, that all these things that we put in our bodies that cause chronic inflammation is just gonna build up, and it's not a good thing. So if we can avoid defatted soy flour, it's probably best. Now, there is one thing that I forgot to mention, and I wanted to mention it about the sodium sterol. And I just have my note here. It's like in big letters, and it says that it is GRAS approved. But what I found very interesting is that out of all the ingredients, that sterol to lactolate or lactolate is the only ingredient that did not have a recommended dosage. This is scary, because this is one of those products that, you know, it can cause a whole slew of health issues, and it alters the dough of the bread. This is the one that creates the volume. So it alters your food, okay? It's an additive, and it alters your food and creates more volume in the food to make it look fuller, to like make it look more of. And this is the only one that did not have a recommended dose, and it is GRAS approved. So when we see something that is GRAS approved, take these things with a grain of salt. Do your research and figure out how often you should really be worried about having this ingredient in your food. Like, what is your actual dosage? Like, the other ingredients online all showed GRAS approved, but they did have a certain dose. So there is like a law that says that they can only have this amount of that, you know, ingredient in their products. So they know that in higher doses, these ingredients are not great for our health. So that's why they have a law, but it's also up to us to know this information. Do some research and figure out, you know, what other products in your home. Take a look in your pantry, in your cabinets. Take a look at the things that you're purchasing in grocery stores, so you can double check to make sure that you're not ingesting higher amounts than what is actually legally allowed with all of the food that you're eating on a daily basis. So these are all things that we really need to consider. So I have, you know, the Wonder Bread. I love this one. It says no sugar added, white with whole grains. And the first ingredient is enriched wheat flour. This is all just marketing schemes. You know, majority of this bread is just enriched wheat flour, which we know is just garbage for our health, and we shouldn't be eating that. You know, the whole grain wheat flour is the third ingredient. And then we've got all the defatted soy flour, the calcium carbonate, which is just baking soda, but the calcium propionate, we have that datum. We've got the sodium sterol. There's just a bunch of crappy ingredients, and I don't understand why. Because if I told you, I don't know if you guys would believe me, but if I told you that this bag of bread is basically the same price as this one, what would you pick between these two? I can tell you which one I would pick, and it would definitely be the organic one in comparison to this. But these are basically the same price. This is like $3 for this bag of bread, and this is the same thing. It's like $2.77, this is $2.97. And there isn't that huge of a difference between the bread. So if you're someone who's on a tight budget, just see if this is something, if this is a change you could make. Because if this is the type of thing you're eating on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, this is gonna hurt you in the long run, and you're actually not gonna be saving money. You're gonna be spending money. You're gonna be spending money on your health. So the difference in change here, literal change, could actually help you save money in the long run with your health. The raisin bread. This is my husband's favorite thing, and it annoys me to bits that he eats this garbage, because this is literally just not a great product for your health. The amount of sugar that is in here. One slice of bread has 8 grams of sugar. Do you know how many slices my husband eats for breakfast? Let's take a guess. A normal person is not gonna have 1 slice of bread. They're gonna have 2. Yeah. So he's taking in, just for breakfast, 16 grams of sugar. And if he decides on that day that he wants to have it with cream cheese and jam, it's even worse. So he's taking in probably close to about 20 grams of sugar, if not more, in just one meal, and that's breakfast. So these raisin breads, again, they're great as treats. You want to go to the cottage and you want to make some French toast and you want it to be yummy with raisin toast. A lot of people love to use raisin bread to make French toast. My husband is one of those people. It's not that big of a deal if this is something you're going to take to the cottage and you're going to eat it that weekend, and you probably won't eat it till the next time you go to the cottage, weeks from now. It's not that big of a deal. But when something like this is your daily breakfast, we have a problem. And if you don't have a problem now, you will in the future. It is almost guaranteed. And on top of all the ingredients that I mentioned, it has those ingredients. It has sorbic acid as well. It's also got vegetable palm kernel oil. It's got cinnamon flakes. They just use the crappiest oils in these things. And I don't know why. I just don't know why. Just can't understand it. It's the same thing with this one. This one has, let's see here. Oh, actually, this one doesn't even have oils. So there you go. See, babe, this is better than this one. Okay, when we're talking about the oils, but we eat better bread than all of this. Then you have your Wonder Bread. They use vegetable oil, defatted soy flour. They've got calcium propionate, sodium sterol, but they do not have the datum. They do have, though, vegetable monoglycerides, so you're getting there. And then this one, again, it says it is whole wheat. So let's take a look. Where the hell is the ingredients in English? Whole wheat flour. Okay. We're talking here. Now this is actual whole wheat, okay? Now, this is not the whole wheat grain. It is the flour, so it's obviously been milled, but it's a lot better than what this stuff is saying it's got in it. Water, yeast, sugar, wheat gluten, which is another thing I don't understand why we need to add that, but anyways, soybean and or canola oil. We're done. I don't want to eat this anymore. Calcium propionate, datum, and we've got the sodium sterol. And there you go. Sorbic acid and your vegetable monoglycerides. No. And you know what I've noticed is as I've gotten older, my body is very good at telling me what it likes and what it doesn't like. And one of the things is these breads. I cannot tell you how many tummy troubles I actually get eating this garbage. And it just takes one slice. There was a little while that we weren't going to Costco to get my favorite bread, which we're going to talk about. And I had to eat this stuff because we didn't have any more of any good bread. This stuff, disastrous, let me tell you. Now, let's move on to some better options. If you're someone with a Costco membership, this is the bread you need to try. This is the Kirkland's 21 grain organic loaf. Here's the thing, there's 21 whole grains and seeds and they're all organic. Is there a little bit of sugar? Yes, there are 4 grams of sugar per slice. So basically, for every 1 slice my husband eats, I can have 2 and eat the same amount of sugar. But what I love most about this bread is it's got loads of protein, it's got omegas in it, and it's got a lot of fiber in comparison to all of these. This is bread, it's supposed to have fiber. There's only 2 grams, and this one has 4 grams per slice. More than this one, see? These are all supposed to be whole grains. This one only has 1 gram of fiber, but it's supposed to be made with whole grains. This one has 4 grams, that one only has 1. We also need to look at these nutritional facts because this tells you a lot about what the ingredients are doing in your food, right? So I love these ingredients because they're all organic. They are using a little bit of, where is it? I think it's sunflower oil. I could be wrong. I'm trying to find it. There's just a whole load of like seeds, and I'm honestly not going to go through all of them because we will be here forever. There is a little bit of organic cane sugar. We already know that. Organic molasses, ascorbic acid. So there is actually no oil in this one. So I'm sure there's one of these that has a little bit of an oil, but I believe it's organic. I love this one. it keeps me full. I can have one slice, I can have two, but like this morning, this morning I actually had a bagel, but there have been mornings where I will take 2 slices with some cheese and eat it, and I will be great until like 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, for lunch. But I also love to do my avocado toast on this. Bagels, as a great option for bagels, look at Silver Hills. I'm not too sure. I haven't seen any good bagels at Costco, but Silver Hills makes great bread and just bread in general, bread products. These bagels are awesome. They have lots of different types. This is their new one, but normally I get like a yellow bag. It's I think 12 or 14 grains. It's something like that. It's another grain bread that's also really good. But this is a new one, and they caught on to the whole 21 grains. If you shop at other stores and you see Dave's Killer Bread, that's another good option. It's very similar. Basically, Costco's trying to copy the Dave's Killer Bread. It's similar to that one. That one has a little bit more sugar per slice than this one does, but it's still really good stuff because you're getting organic grains and you're getting a lot more protein and things like that. So now Silver Hills has decided to create their own 20 grain loaf. What I love about Silver Hills is that all their grains are sprouted. And remember when I told you that one of those ingredients, it's the datum, causes leaky gut? Well, a lot of the symptoms of leaky gut involve things like being bloated, having, you know, issues going to the washroom, or being regular. Organic sprouted grains of any kind, whether it's in bread, lentils, beans, anything organic and sprouted is great for you if you are someone that has issues with bloating and just processing these harder grains and legumes and lentils and things like that. So sprouted is the way to go. If you can even sprout your own beans and lentils as well, but the sprouted stuff is great because number one, it's easier on your belly. Your belly is actually able to digest it. But the other thing too is there's actually more protein in sprouted grain breads. And the other thing too is because it's sprouted, your intestines can actually absorb more of the nutrients and the vitamins from these grains, from what's in here. This is a great bread. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's got 2 grams of sugar, so even less than this one. 2 grams of sugar per slice. You've got omegas. You got 5 grams of fiber per slice. You also have 6 grams of protein per slice. This is great stuff because you're getting protein. You're gonna feel full. Add a poached egg, add some avocado, add some cheese, make yourself a sandwich. You're gonna be good. I just wanted to see if this one had any oil. Some of these sometimes have oils and they're not always the greatest. But no, nothing in this one. This one's great. This is the one that I was telling you about that has the calcium propionate, which really upsets me because this is such a great bread. It has whole wheat flour. They use artisan spring water, flax seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds. They've got yeast, sea salt, hemp meal, honey as a sweetener, which is awesome because there's only 1 gram of sugar per slice. But as we keep going, then we have calcium propionate, which is a little bit concerning because we've heard what it does with the headaches, with the irritability, the sleep issues, not only in kids, but also in adults. So, you know, and for them to be saying that it is a prebiotic, I mean, this is still better than what you have here because that's really the only ingredient that is concerning to me. So it's still a better option than all of these. I think this was actually the most expensive bread that we purchased at the store because we purchased the Silver Hills bagels, this bread along with these ones from No Frills. And I think this was more expensive than the organic bread. I think this one was like around 3 something. So, you know what I'm saying? Like it kind of upsets me when you think about dollars and cents and your ingredients and what you're getting. So it is concerning, but this is still a better option than all of these. So if you see this in the store, try it out. Get your kids to try it out. Trust me, it's good. You just gotta kind of like get it in there with them. This organic bread is great too. It's very simple ingredients. Yeah, very, very simple. Organic enriched wheat flour. That to me is a little bit strange. But anyways, organic ground sprouted whole wheat, water, sugars, cultured wheat flour, yeast, sea salt, and enzymes. Very simple. So it's basically white bread mixed with whole wheat grains. That's basically what they're trying to imitate here. It's another great option in comparison to all of these. Again, your Silver Hills bagels, these are kind of pricey, which is why, you know, as a Canadian who isn't like a millionaire, or, you know, I'm just kind of like your basic Canadian. I don't swim in my tub in billions of dollars, you know. We have a tight budget for groceries. This is something that I buy not very often, because it's like $5 for 5 bagels. So it's literally $1 a bagel. It can be expensive, but this lasts me a long time. I try to make it last because the $5 for a bag of bagels is a little insane. These breads, I think this one was 2 of these loaves. This has 675 grams, so there's 2 of these. So you get over a kilo, obviously, of bread. I believe it was like $7.50. And this one, or $7.99. I think this one was more expensive than this one, right, babe? I can't even remember. I know that this one is like $7.99. These are much bigger loaves, okay? This has 765 grams. This is a very big loaf of bread, and you get 2 of them in a pack at Costco for $7.99. So for $8, you got some good ass bread. That's like $4 a loaf, which is pretty good. So it's worth the money in the long run. So we definitely like to invest in these. These are obviously, no bread is going to be wasted in today's video. If we don't eat it, we will donate it. It's not a big problem. This raisin bread, by the time the next video comes out, it'll be gone. And this one, obviously, somebody's been eating. I don't know about this one. I don't know who's going to eat this one. Anyways, so when we're looking at bread, remember, look at your ingredients, look at the nutritional facts, make sure that there isn't any crappy ingredients like datum, calcium propionate, that's sterile to lactylate. Don't pick up the breads with those. Let's do a little bit better for ourselves. Even if the difference is slightly more, grab one of these different options, check the ingredients in store, and just pick something different, because we all eat bread, and so we need to do a little bit better for ourselves and for our health in the long run. Anyways, that's all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, comment on this video, share this video, call your family and friends to subscribe to our video, because we will be posting basically a video a week. And don't forget to click on the little bell icon so you get notified every time we have a new video out. And we appreciate all of your feedback, all of your support. Thank you so much. Take care, and we'll see you next time.